All right. So we are just below the middle of the page, Chavov. The line begins with the word Harotzen HaKlali Leilos.
What page?
Chavov. So we spoke about Rot and then Rotzen Kloli. Rotzen Muchlot and Rotzen Kloli we discussed yesterday. And having discussed it yesterday, we can elaborate a little bit more specifics about it. We spoke many times, and even yesterday, I think, maybe the day before, about the principle of a bias. Odom she'ein mokem ein bias ein odom. And then, once he has a bias, what is the bias? The bias provides for all the various amenities that a person needs to function, like a chair, a table, and so forth. We pointed out many times that you have to understand that this Indian. This is the first thing you have to understand, because otherwise we are blinded by the physicality of it, by the functionality. As we discussed the last time, we discussed it to great detail, pointing out that when a person eats at his own table, it's a completely different phenomenon than when he eats in a restaurant, or when he sits and so forth. So the functionality is also totally imbued and affected and contained, embraced by the principle that this is his home. Now, in that itself, there are clearly distinct aspects, despite the fact that one is totally represented from the other. The fact that he has a house, and the fact that the house provides space for all the things that he needs. The fact that he has a house, this is a similarity, this is an allusion to the Indian of Rotzen and Muchlot, where the functionalities that are associated with it. What is a world? There is no significance to that question. What is a house? No significance to that question. In other words, what are you going to do in the house? It's not part of that concept. And then there is a second level where the house is actually developed into a functioning abode, which is exactly, as you said, exactly the same house, but now it includes all human activities. This is it's a proper view, a proper motion, a proper illustration of the two principles of Rotzen Muchlot and Rotzen Kloli. Kloli means that which incorporates everything. The reason it incorporates everything is because it is rooted and it has the Rotzen Muchlot in it. But this is sort of like the chitzonius of it, because it includes, it can be translated in a functioning level. It never becomes the functioning level. It remains the essential Rotzen. But this is the essential Rotzen as is recognizable from a functional perspective. Rotzen Muchlot, this is part and parcel of the Yetzer Mitzvah.
So Rotzen Muchlot, the mashal is just the fact that he should have a house?
That's right. So having a home, this is what establishes his presence in the world. Period.
In the Nimshal, the Rotzen Klali also precedes the creation of the world, the actual creation of the worlds.
Right.
But it's just providing for the concept
in
that
the
everything.
Mashal, it's exactly the same way. First he acquires the home and then begins to think, okay, what am I going to do with it? And begins to translate that initial reality to a functional reality. Before he moves in and before he does anything. Before he creates the world.
We spoke about the other day the idea that if the world were to be destroyed, Chas v'Shalom, it would be a great tragedy, even though it could be instantaneous without any suffering. This is like a recognition of the Ratzon and Muflat, right? It's not due to any. It represents the idea that the world.
It's not due to the loss from a worldly perspective.
It's due to the loss of that the Etzem would experience, so to speak.
Experience that the kilo of the Etzem will be lost. That's right. If the Etzem, the Rotzen Ha'atzmi, is not fulfilled, that is the tragedy of tragedies. This is what we Eden are all about. And we Moshe Nefesh for this. Okay, let's continue. Zesha Kosov, okay, we are on the line Horotzen HaKloli. He said this is just below the middle of the page, Cholbov. Zesha Kosov, we already went into this yesterday, but not sufficient. And this is what the Pasuk says, Bi melochim yemloichu. Be through me, refers to the Torah. Melochim yemloichu, melochim, kings, reign by my empowerment, by Torah. And what does this mean? In what way does Torah effectuate the reign of kings? The Yois, which means to the following, that in order that there should be Mibchin as is Nasus Atzmus, from that Bechina which is called Yisnasus Atzmus. Melochim Amelech, we started discussing the Inyan of Melech and the infant Yisnasus. Here's where we stopped yesterday, and I want to step right into this. And the principle of a melech is in for the snasus. The snasus means that he raised up. That's what it knows. He's raised up. Raised up does not mean that he is uninvolved, disinterested. Raised up means that he is effective on all levels without being captured by them. That's what it is snasus. Actually, we explained the other day that a human being is essentially a melech, in the sense that he is a presence in the world and he functions in the world, but he only functions in the world to affect the world. He doesn't become part and parcel of the world, like a an animal. That is completely dependent. Its whole presence is being part of the world. A human being is, as he said, he illustrated by the fact that he just stands on 2 feet. He's not dependent on the world to support him. What supports him is his spirit. But in order to be effective and to be able to do things in the world, he has also his feet on the ground. So, to illustrate this more tangibly, the concept is very important as far as the Muslim, the human being, and many other things that we have used over the months. So the Muslim that we used yesterday was the principle of knowing how to get around, say from place A to place B, and to find your way through all the twists and turns of the ground contours and the city contours and so forth, and versus being on a high up, like standing up on an Empire State Building, and seeing the two places, how the two places A and B are correlate to one another. When you are finding place B from place A, from the position of place A, place B doesn't even exist. And when you go through all the various twists and turns and you find it, it's like a discovery. And there is even that sensation of discovery. Oh, here it is. When you are viewing these two spots from up above, they both are present on the ground, on the earth. They're both next to each other. They're both equally real to each other. And there is not the challenge at all of finding one from the other, and there is not the discovery. So even though there are these two places, yet they're not engaging you intellectually or emotionally to find one from the other. You're above it. This is like a mashal from the Indian hisnatus of a melech. A melech deals with all the people in his kingdom. And we should not think of a melech as one who submerges, who subdues his people, and that they have no mind of their own except his. That is not a melech in the true sense of the word. On the contrary, a melech is one who supports all the various opinions in the same service, and he provides for every nuance, every individual who comes up in his melucha. The more, the better. B'roiv am, hadras melech. Why hadras melech b'roiv am? You know what I'm pointing. B'roiv am hadras melech. The more people, the more glory for the king. Why? If they're all thinking alike, so how is it glorifying the king? They're all pawns. The answer is no. The Melech encompasses. The more he encompasses, the more glorified he is. You see how great he is? And he provides for all of them. This is his nasus. He sees all things on the from the Am level, from a supreme and from a superior level. Nothing grabs him, nothing drags him down onto the fray, so to speak. And this is his provision. This is his hashpah. This is the meaning of being a melech. So that the meaning of the melech is the malchus. The actual reign is that this his nasus of the melech comes to bear upon the people, which is a phenomenal concept, because the people are of different opinions. They are part of the world. I'm reminded of a little episode, I think I mentioned it years ago here. We were driving, we lived out of town, we lived in Muncie at the time, we were coming down to see a doctor someplace in Queens. Now Queens is an impossible place to find your way around. And we were driving around trying to find the address. You think a street crosses, the name of this street is this and that it will cross. No, not necessarily. The street can cross, the two streets can cross each other twice. That's Queens. So we were going around, kind of lost, and we were late at time. And generally, my wife and I were going to this doctor. So we stopped, and we asked somebody, and he saw that we were a little bit distressed. He says, "You're still in New York." Don't worry, you're still in New York. It was a significant statement.
Still in New York, right?
Not that we thought maybe we got out of New York. The point is that when you are disoriented, the other place doesn't exist. In order to have this sense and to calm, that even if you never saw the place, it is on the same earth, and you will find it eventually. That is the effect of his nasus. And the union of the king is that you are always within the malchus, within the reign of the king. No matter where you're going, no matter what you're looking for. In this world, no matter what you're looking for, it is still malchus of Eibishter's malchus. You can get lost in that sense, in the real sense of the word.
So when you say that his nasus of the melech is imposed on the people, you would say he provides them with that sense of reality. Through his nasus, he enables them that even in the mashal, when they're lost, they know that the place still exists.
They're not
the
lost,
world
right.
is still a real place.
They're still in the domain.
Because the
Exactly.
king sees everything at once.
The king is above the whole thing. Yes. He provides this nasus. It's not a question of unity, it's not a question of submission. And he elevates the people to a different perspective. By the people, what is a real place? One that I can touch, the one I can see. Not true. A place that exists within the kingdom is real.
His nasus is synonymous with. Why is this that everywhere in the kingdom is real? Why is that called his nasus? Why is that called being elevated? So what's the connection between just it's a reality and
Even though that really it's a confusing and contorted route, and you're not lost. because you're looking at it from a higher perspective.
Just you're looking to.
I'm still the kingdom of the king. It's like we had a similar experience, it might have also been people in Europe, and the people were slowly moving to America, to England, to Israel. And there's people were what's called refugees, and some people had there was different effects, going to America with them. And I remember somebody said, "Don't worry, the sky is the same over there as over here. It's the same sky." There's much to discuss about. I think that's sufficient for the purposes that we are learning over here. So, let's go back inside.
On inside,
What?
Inside, I have a question. We went from, we said that the same now that the Torah is Memutza, from Rotzen Amuchel B'as Musa and Rotzen Kol Eloimus. And then we equated to the Isnasus Atzmi. We equated Rotzen Amuchel B'as Musa in Isnasus Atzmi. How is that? I don't get it. What?
The whole inner of creation of the world is rooted in Malchus.
That's clear.
That's the answer. For that's Isnasus Atzmi.
But we started with Rotzen Amuchel B'as Musa. Amuchel Rotzen Amuchel Oilamai. That's the question.
Okay, the line begins out to the Kloli. That's because of Bi Melachim Yimlechu. The Torah says, Bi Melachim Yimlechu, kings reign through me, by my empowerment. Which means that in order that they should come from the Bechin of Hisnasus Atzmus, Shehu Bechinas Koyach HaHavdolah V'HaHisnasus. Hisnasus Atzmus is the Bechina of Koyach HaHavdolah, the power of Havdolah, of separateness and supremacy, elevation, being above and uninvolved. Uninvolved does not mean that there's no significance. It means not being drawn into it. HaMushreshes ba'atzmusay, that is rooted in his atzmus. In order that from that initial reality of Malchus, it should come bibechinas hiseirus rotzin kaviyochel. It should come to a state of his bechina of hiseirus rotzin, and actually a recognizable, identifiable rotzen kaviyochel b'yisnasus alam. That he should have a rotzen to yisnasus alam, to relate to the am. Shehu inyan harotzen da'ano emlech, which is the principle of the rotzen da'ano emlech. Da'ano emlech is a loshen hamedrash, if I remember correctly. That the Medrash says, and the Rebbe said, Da'ano emlech, I shall be king. This Ano Emlich is a so to speak a derivative of Hisnasus Atzmus. Let me elaborate slightly on this. In Malchus, human Malchus, Chassidus explains there are two types of Malachim. There is a melech who became a melech, even though Apidini is a melech, but he is a melech only functionally. And that melech could be a very dangerous situation because he does not feel the supremacy of Malchus, and he's constantly defensive about his position. there was a split in the Jewish nation, Malchus. First it was just Malchus David, Mamelucha, and then it was split between Yehuda and Binyamin. And Binyamin had a much larger section. 10 shvatim were in the Melucha of Binyamin, and 2 shvatim were in the Melucha of David. Infinitely greater. Israel. Binyamin Binyamin was together with David. Yeah. Ephraim, Yosef. So the first king of Malchus Israel was Yerovam ben Nevat. Everybody heard of Yerovam ben Nevat. Yerovam ben Nevat was a very great man, and whatever it was, he was anointed king over this Melucha. As soon as he was anointed king, he realized the precariousness of his position. It says in the Tanakh. It said the center of Yiddishkeit, the center of the Jewish people is in Beis Hamikdash. Is in Yerushalayim. So what kind of kingdom do I have? Everybody's going to go up there. So what was the first thing he did? He forbade going to Yerushalayim. He locked the doors. So Yerovam ben Nevat is infamously known for all times. Chotem Hechti es Yisrael. And there was all kinds of different things that resulted from this. When we know a Navi, Achia Shileni anointed him. So Chassidus explains that Malchi David had the union of Melucha inherently. He was not a Melech only because he was anointed king. He was a king before he was anointed. This was done. One of the first episodes that is related regarding David when he became king, the early episode. The Od HaKodesh was then outside of Yerushalayim because of various circumstances, and David decided to bring it back to Yerushalayim to Yitzi. And as they were bringing the Od HaKodesh, David was running in front of it, and he was dancing with all his might. Right? Just like we see the chasanas, people just flying in the air. David was flying in the air. David the Melech was flying in the air, jumping right in front of the Od HaKodesh. David's wife was Michal Bas Shaul. She was Shaul's daughter. She was a princess. She grew up in a palace. David was a simpleton in terms of his background. And she observed him through the window. She saw how her husband, the king, is jumping up and down. She kind of felt embarrassed. What is this? This is a king. This is how a king behaves. And when David came home, she kind of pointed at him. She reprimanded him. How does a king behave like this? So he says, that's the difference between me and your father. I don't.
What the difference between me and your father?
Me and your father. I don't get degraded by this. So dancing in front of him, I don't get degraded. I will equalize with the bnei hashfachis, with the maid servants. Doesn't degrade me. And this is why Hashem chose me over your father. That's what David said to him. not Pshat a melech in essence. It's not a melech by appointment, by fact. This is what it says. That even that going up back, we're talking about Malchus Hashem. Even that Hashem Ano Emlich does not mean that the Meluchi adds something to the Meibach. Oh, now he's a Melech. No. It goes the other way around. Then you have Malchus, his Nasus is an essential. This is in the Muchla Batsim. And then he has to be drawn from there into Malchus Alam, into Malchus Upnei. So, the Rotzin are no Emloich. That is, you should have a Rotzin Taki to be king. Why should we have one be king? He is above. Zehu aledi amtsoas ateiru. This is effectuated by the intermediacy of the Torah. The Torah affected, like so to speak, convinced this Melech, the essential Melech, that he should come down and become a Melech Alam. This is in fact the principle of the Melech said, who did Hashem consult in creating the world? He consulted Yidden, he consulted the Torah. Okay, this is it for this morning. Okay, wherever you are on the line, have a good day. We are going to daven now.
Didn't get it clear. Like when you say that Rotzen Amuchel Be'asmusei, and we equate it with Rotzen Isnasus Atzmis, right? Even in a class Sunday, I think you mentioned.
Huh?
I think Sunday in a class you mentioned that just like Eivishter, like he enjoys being himself, Kaviochel, so to say. So he wants to be himself, or whatever. Like we spoke like that, meaning he wants to be himself. There is a Rotzen in the expression of being himself. Why do we readily equate it with Isnasus? Why do we call that this Rozen is Isnasus, Atzmis?
No, we are talking only in terms of the Rotzen Limluch, not in the rest of that eventually is Gala in the world. That's what he's talking.
Just one aspect of it, so to say.
Yeah,
whatever else it is to it, it's not not to the exclusion. In other words, we're not making a statement to the exclusion.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Take a picture of this for him.
yeah.